Hi guys. I wanted to begin the class and by sharing the screen with you guys, by saying hi. Let me see. I think we can have other students come in. Let me wait a minute so we can begin the class. Hold on. Let me see. I'm sorry for that delay. Let me check on this. Okay. So we have students coming in. So we're gonna wait a little longer to begin the class. Oh, yay. So anyway, let's just begin. So I'm gonna begin by sharing screen with you guys and we can begin the class. You will not see me, sorry, you will not see me because I'm gonna be speaking. I hope that is not comfortable for you, but here we go. So this is the first level of the CBTT. And what's important to note is that this is all about Hashem, and not just about improving oneself, but it can improve your family life tremendously. It can improve your overall health, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Because we put it on the forefront, putting Hashem in the forefront of every decision that we make by using Torah study. Because we cannot decide correctly, and we cannot decide with Kedusha, with holiness, if we do not know or study Torah. We don't know what is right. It's like when your child, it's like he or she doesn't know that he cannot step on this place or not, or whatever. And if we don't teach them, or we always as mothers teach them, when you cross the street, look both ways. So without instruction, there is no way we can improve our family life or ourselves, or we just gonna go by our understanding. And therefore the same goes with clients, if you already have a practice or not. So we begin with the introduction here. So what is CBTT? CBTT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Torah Therapy. It is the ultimate and most effective holistic approach built on the cognitive behavioral therapy framework and directed with Torah true perspective. And that goes right without saying that all this is with acquiring the fire to really cling to Hashem in the study of Torah. The only way that our minds can awaken and shift our focus is if we fill our minds with the positive teachings of the Torah and the know-how as to how to change our midas, change our character traits, because the Torah, as we know, is a blueprint to every aspect, every solution in every aspect of our lives. This right there. So therefore, when you're raising your children, or even you have a practice, if you keep Hashem, even by using different modalities of holistic healing, then if you put Hashem in the forefront, it will shift your focus not on what you yourself can do as a person to heal another, but your focus will be, what can Hashem do, or how can Hashem guide me to help this person, or help my family or my children. You search for the guidance that is what Hashem wants for your family, your children, or your practice. So this Torah-based methodology can be applied beneficially to almost any challenge to happiness that one may encounter. Like, let's say everyone has some up and down in marriages, or you encounter something with a coworker, or your child is struggling, or anything can happen. Everyone goes through those learning processes that it can be hard to swallow at times and hard to process. But like David Hamelech said, if you make my bed hell, then there you are, which means that it is far better to go through something that is trying for us than going with it with Hashem, because everything works for the good. So we're going through a process of learning, a really hard process of some challenge in life. And if you go about it on your own, or even your client goes about it on their own, then it is so hard. It's so harder to go through, even harder to process. It would take even longer, years and years and years, to be able to come to a point of healing, true healing. I'm not saying just like, okay, I'm gonna put it in my mind aside, and I'm gonna forget about it, and I'm not gonna deal with it, and I put it in a back burner and not do it at all. That doesn't work, because eventually, if it doesn't come, if you put it in a back burner, but it's gonna come out anyways. It's gonna come out in your health. It's gonna come out on your actions. It's gonna come out in your emotions. It's gonna cloud your mind, the way you think. So every single little thing is gonna impact. So the state of your mind is the state of your neshama. The state of your emotions is the state of your neshama. Everything is linked. So Hashem made us to be connected, not just connected to one another, but connected with ourselves, to be centered. He wants us centered in every aspect of our lives, and that's what CBTT does. It makes you stabilize everything about your life. Every single little thing is seen in a very deep way. A CBTT practitioner or a person who just wants to study CBTT, the one thing that's a requirement is compassion. Compassion for the other people's pain. If at times we don't understand, that is okay. But just to care, to truly care, it's one of the biggest things that we can give to someone. Listening ear, even your child is going through something, and the only thing you can do is just listen. When they're open, then you guide them. But the very fact that you sat down with your child and listened, and actually listened, and took the time, it makes a world of difference. And that will certainly impact their lives, just by knowing that mom or dad cares about what they're feeling, they care about every aspect of what is troubling them, that strengthens their neshama and strengthens the link that he or she may have with the parents, the trust that they can go with to them in any given situation. So it has been proven to me a reliable method in helping neshama overcome psychological, emotional, even psychiatric issues, as well as guiding those who want to live a healthy, fulfilling Jewish life. A life that isn't, apologize for the, oh, okay, never mind. It was a little misspelling. A life that isn't without a doubt Hashem-centered. If I have taught before, if your thoughts and your mind always goes, instead of thinking, what is it that I need to do, instead of what is it that Hashem would need me to do, and search for the answer through prayer, towards study and meditation, that is a world, that is something that Hashem wants. He wants us to go to him, even in the littlest things, and say, Hashem, I need socks. That is amazing. Hashem, I need a plate, I need this, whatever it is. He wants us to be able to cling to him in everything and ask him about his opinion about everything. He wants us to be that child, that 4-year-old, 2-year-old who's going through that separation anxiety, and be clinging to him in such a force, just like that. And in terms of family, if your child and your family know that you are like this strong oak that is super, strengthened by Hashem, then whatever storm that passes through, it would not move that oak. Then anyone can go to that oak for shelter. Husband, children, and even grandchildren in the future, Baruch Hashem. So it is like so important. It is life sustaining, not just for you, but in the future, if somebody wishes to make a practice. It is a lot. Hashem is a lifeline for our neshamas, because without him, our neshamas would eventually wither away, and there comes that lack of hope, and there comes all the consequences of not having Hashem in our lives. So we're gonna keep going. So a standard CBT practitioner, that's what I'm talking about, without Torah, would, for example, help a person overcome their fear of spiders, for example, by using guided imagery with images of him or her staying calm in the presence of a spider. Now, the difference is a CBTT practitioner would use the same tactic, but he or she will also teach the person to channel the faculty of imagination in a positive and holy way, rather than channel the animalistic tendency of fear into the positive energy of awe and wonderment through prayer, meditation, and other spiritual practices. So if we're in constant on wonderment, if we occupy our minds to be in constant wonderment of Hashem, in every single little thing that he does for our lives, and every single little thing that we have in our lives, and be thankful every time that we wake up and say Modeh Ani, for example, then our minds and our hearts and our actions and how we interact with others will go around that. It will react. It will become something that is automatic. It's something that, like, when you're going to fall, what do? You put your hands. It's automatic self-defense. So if Hashem becomes your shield of defense, the first thing you go to in automatic mode, then how your life would be, and how it would improve the life of your family, or even somebody who wishes to do a practice, to have a practice. It is never too late to do anything. And sometimes life takes you, or Hashem takes you, actually, in paths you never thought about. It opens doors that you never thought about, and you find yourself surprised. And Hashem puts you in a position to be able to bring such brachas to other people, and bring healing to other people, and bring people to Hashem, not away from Hashem. And remember, because if you save one neshama, you have saved a whole world. You have saved a generation after generation after generation. Because that love for Hashem that's the best and the most precious heritage you can give, and that passes on to your children and your children's children. So we're gonna so if we occupy our minds with positive energy, there's no way that anything negative can come in. We'll be in constant awareness. It's so important to be in constant awareness by filling ourselves with Torah. So, for example, if they have a glass of water, and you always, like, when you have the filter, you're always looking into the water's, like, there's no stains, everything. The filter is a Torah. So if you're in constant awareness of that filter, everything's in filter, then you're gonna be like, okay, the water that I'm drinking is not contaminated. That's how important it is. The Torah is the way to purify. The way is a filter that we need, so that we have a healthy neshama, and therefore a healthy body, a healthy mind, and healthy emotions. And we can teach our children to do the same. One of the reasons CBTT methodology is so successful is because it involves a very thorough analysis of the way and very key components contributing to one's lack of healthy equilibrium. This crucial factor is not always addressed in the standard CBT approach, and without it, a client would at best end up wasting their time, money, and effort. At worst, he may end up feeling that Hashem has abandoned him or her. God forbid, Well, the issue of this beautiful neshama may be a spiritual, mental, or even a nutritional issue. It is so important that when you encounter a person who's going through a real trying time, to really, if you care, you're going to care about everything, every single little thing about the person. You're going to care what their emotional state is. You're going to care what their family life is. They're going to care about their mind, or the state of their mind is, every single little thing, every single aspect. Why? Because Hashem cares about every single aspect of our lives. And he wants us to take care of every single little thing in our lives. So that is why the CBT practitioner looks into what is the person eating, what is the person's thoughts, how they could plan their minds, how is the state of the neshama, what the level of spirituality, how are in the closest with Hashem, if they daven, if they meditate, every aspect of their lives, every single little thing. If they have depression, if they have anger issues, every single little thing. If what they feel about themselves, self-esteem is super important as well. How do they feel about themselves? How do they feel about their life? So for us to know exactly what is going on, we must have compassion, and we must have empathy for the other person, and that works the same for your children, and that works the same for a spouse. Kindness and compassion people think it's just don't really think about that tool being such a powerful tool, because it is. It is an extremely powerful tool that if, for example, let's say a chain reaction. So a chain reaction is, for example, if you go through the street and instead of frowning at a person when they say hi to you, you just smile back. Say, hi, how are you doing? Even if you don't know them. And that person, I think I see that kind of like commercials sometimes on the TV they do, but if that person smiles at the other person and so on, and it's a chain reaction. So imagine in your family life, which mothers, we know that we do anything for our children. So if we show that care and compassion and understanding to our children, and therefore your children will feel loved, and if they feel loved, their self-esteem and the state of their minds and their emotional health will certainly improve. And if you couple that with Torah learning, not just Torah learning, but teaching them by our actions, by the way we act, and the way we speak, and the way we love them, that would impact their lives forever. And that will impact their children's children, as I mentioned before, from generation to generation. And if we bring a little bit of light to another person, even if you don't know them, figure maybe that person was thinking of killing themselves. Or maybe that person was thinking that their life is not worth living. We never know what the person is going through. Only Hashem does. So it's so important. Compassion and kindness is such an amazing tool of healing. So in the terms of nutritional health, it's important because some foods, if you think about it, some foods like makes us like our tummy like, oh, it bothers us. And that is going to impact, if you have indigestion, that's going to impact on your mood. It impacts obviously your body, but that impacts your mood. And if it impacts your mood, you're not going to feel like davening. It is so important to search to improve also our nutritional health. Because if we're like eating junk food, if we're eating fast foods, if we're eating all of that, is going to, create an unhealthy state, and that's going to affect our emotions. So that's why Hashem wanted us to really, really take care of what we eat and how much we eat. If you like eat too much of, let's say, something healthy, you become like super full, and then you're not in a good mood. Again, it's a chain reaction. So you're not going to be in a good mood. So if you're not going to be in a good mood, you're not going to be receptive to your children or your husband. So let's go back over here. So the next thing is, the CBTT practitioner functions as a spiritual chiropractor, per se, realigning your moods by helping you balance your physical needs, which does include diet, sleep, and exercise. And one important aspect, which I didn't mention, is how good we sleep. Because if we do not sleep in an effective way, we're going to be really irritated. And sleep is an extremely crucial aspect that needs to be worked on, not just in ourselves, but it's a crucial part for overall health. If we do not sleep well, then it's going to impact blood pressure. It's going to impact we're going to gain weight. It's like so many aspects that arise from the lack of sleep or a poor quality of sleep. So, and exercise increases your happy thoughts, everything. It gives you energy. It gives you calm in case you're releasing that energy that you're like, oh, that's stress. You're releasing it in a healthy way, obviously, by also adding prayer meditation to our study. But if your mind is like, it's not about how good I want to look, but I want to have a healthy body because that's what Hashem wants me to do, then the focus shifts entirely and the stress lowers. If you're not in constant fight and flight mode, then you will be more at peace with the process, which is another thing. We have to be aware that have patience with ourselves and compassion and kindness with ourselves, that it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, just like the children of Israel. It took them a long time for them to acquire a higher level of spiritual awareness, for them to acquire the mitzvahs and to live a Jewish life. It took generations. It took a long, long time because they were at a very low spiritual level, really low, one of the lowest when they were in Egypt. So, with your spiritual needs, by utilizing your Hashem's given soul powers of your neshama and your faculty of imagination, you can certainly achieve a level of self-actualization before opening the path to working on your midas or character traits hand in hand with Hashem. And we're going to go on here. Our faculty of imagination is part of the divine spark that Hashem granted us, and is a very powerful asset, but yet a delicate tool. Its purpose is to serve Hashem through prayer, meditation, and Torah study. It's not about avodat Hashem. If our every action is about avodat Hashem, then our light will shine. Because again, you're shifting your focus to what is it that Hashem wants from me rather than what I can do for myself. So if our imagination is not occupied in a positive way filled with Kedusha, holiness, the Yetzer Hara takes charge and uses it in a negative way. The Torah tells us, occupy your mind so it does not occupy you. So this means that if you let your mind control you, if you let Yetzer Hara control your actions, then you're not going to be in control anymore. If you're not fill your mind with holiness, with Kedusha, with Torah study, meditation, prayer, then something else is going to occupy your mind and your thoughts and your actions. And that's going to be led by Yetzer Hara and not Hashem. Think of Yetzer Hara like a blindfold. It just blinds your eyes to the path of Hashem. We can always do teshuvah. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm not saying it's impossible to come back. No, of course not. But it becomes harder. But it's always doable. You always have an opportunity to do teshuvah. Always. And if we are true in our teshuvah, then the healing begins. And it's so important that people know this, not just for you, but your children, your husband, and even people who have their practice. It's important for the clients to understand that it's never too late, and Hashem wants them back. It's so incredibly important for them to understand, because if not, we go into self-destructive mode. And by thinking that there's no hope, and that's one of the most destructive forces one can have in one's life, hopelessness. Because everything just snowballs, depression, hopelessness, and many other issues. Because your trust is not on what you can achieve, but on what Hashem wants for you. And subsequently, you will be teaching this to your clients or family members, and therefore strengthening your emunah, family life, and practice by giving that balance to Hashem by diving into Torah study, prayer, and meditation. If you're if you actually think about it, if your children went to had this, because sometimes all of us did not have that kind of life, or kind of the way Hashem wants us to be raised. We didn't have that, but now, Baruch Hashem, you have this. People have this option. Practitioners have the option with their families. It is given to them that lead their children and raising their children with love and compassion and kindness and Torah. Such a powerful thing. Because Torah without compassion means nothing, really. And Torah without kindness, it means nothing. It doesn't do anything. Because your children, we may think our children don't know much, but they do. They see a lot. They see a lot in us by our actions and what we say, how we act, even things that we don't even aware of. Our children know. And they absorb that. So it's so important. It's so important that if we shift and we run to Hashem every time, they would do the same thing. They would say, Mom goes to Hashem when she has a problem. Mom goes to Torah when she needs something to resolve. And that will give them the know-how. They say, okay, so I have an issue. I need to go to Torah. I have an issue. I need to daven. I need to study Torah some more. I need to meditate. So if you give them the blueprints by your actions, obviously what you say, like how you act, how you think, what you eat, and how you eat, and how much you eat. There's so many aspects that impact our children's life and our clients and the people who encounter our daily lives, even from the cashier that we go to the grocery store to the tailor that we go. Every aspect is important and impacts everything. So Yosef, I don't remember if you guys know this, but Yosef was thrown into a pit, and that's in Bereshit 37:24, or Genesis 37:24. Empty, devoid of water. Our sages tell us that the pit was swarming with snakes and scorpions. The Rebbetzin Rebbe teaches us that we should use this lesson in our everyday lives by understanding that if our minds are devoid of Torah, which is compared to water, it will instead become full of snakes and scorpions and unhealthy thoughts, and then thoughts become actions, as we spoke before. And this will lead to the development of unhealthy emotions, antithetical to happiness. Because if we're not happy, our whole body is not healthy. Because our thoughts are negative, and their actions will be negative. It just impacts everything. Eventually, our physical health will become impacted in a negative way, as I was mentioning right now. So we really should think about how it impacts our what we think and what we do. It's so important to take care of our thoughts. So it is quite important to note that even people who occupy their minds in a positive way, this is to me, I was blown away by this. It's quite important then to know that even people to occupy their minds in a positive way, who daven 3 times a day, every day, and even learn Torah, suffer from psychological disturbances such as anger issues, anxiety, depression, even severe psychiatric disorders. And why is this so? I mean, why? If Torah is the solution, if davening is the solution, then why on earth would they be suffering such issues? So the answer is this. According to Rebbe Rashab, mental and emotional disturbances arise from the lack of deep meditative prayer, not just Not just go through your sitter and go like, blah, 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 just say, no. Out of obligation, no. If we, even if it's just, if you read it just in English, and you're reading it, but if you're just thinking about it and concentrating and really understanding and truly meditating on the meaning of what you're saying, then the meaning of the prayer and this and the process of when you're davening will change radically. The dramatic, super, a whole lot. There will be a whole lot of difference between if you daven just reading it and not even thinking, and or when you're reading and you're stopping and you're meditating after it. I remember there used to be this is a story. This used to be I think it was in Europe, and there was a synagogue, and they used to have a separate room for the people who wish to daven in a slower fashion. So the other room was just going through, just, it's a regular sort of room, just going through it, not even thinking. But the other people who were in the other room, they've been going slowly. Even it took them like a while. They were having this moment, this special moment with Hashem, where they were seriously concentrating and meditating and showing that love for Hashem in such a deep way that they care so much that they want to, every little thing they're saying, they want it to be with meaning. They want it to be with their whole hearts and their whole minds. Love Hashem with your whole heart and your whole mind and your whole soul. That's what Hashem meant. For us, for every aspect of ourselves, be focused on davening, being there with him. Just like you're with a friend, and a friend is going through something, and she has your undivided attention, and you care, and you want the pain of your friend to go away. I'm not saying that Hashem is suffering or anything like that. I'm saying that level of compassion, that level of empathy, that level that you want to please Hashem so much, and you want to be close to him so much that it doesn't matter to you, that it takes longer than you're supposed to, as long as you read and you understand, and then your heart feels exactly what you're reading. That is a powerful prayer, because you care, and you're showing your love for Hashem, and that same care will be shown in all aspects of your life. So it's going to be an automatic reaction, and that will improve your family life. That will improve your marriage. That will improve every single little thing. It's going to improve. So while negative character traits are made worse by improper eating habits, after all, we are what we eat. Always spoke this before. We are what we eat. If we eat, for example, if we eating wheat and we're intolerant to wheat, we're not going to feel good. If we're not going to feel good, then we're going to be moody, and we don't want to daven, and we're going to study, we just want to lie down. So it's so important to take care of every aspect and balance everything out. It's not easy, but it's doable. It can be done. Everything should be taken step by step, and let it be patient with ourselves and take it as a process. Not as a race, but a process, a journey. So Hashem wants to purify our minds as well as our bodies by taking care of our bodies to the best of our abilities. By the guidance of Torah study, always keeping Hashem as our priority in everything that we do, especially with our family And secondly, with our clients and future clients, it is for people who want to be practitioners. And it is also is for mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, everyone. It is of extreme importance to analyze the nourishment we are offering our neshama and body. Are your prayers heartfelt or robotic? After 10 minutes of prayer, can you remember saying one word? Even if it's in English, that's fine. Do you follow your prayers with Torah study? Or do you put down your sitter or pick up your magazine or even your cell phone? Do you eat healthful meals in sensible portions? Or do you clog your system with an overabundance of harmful foods? What do you normally read? What do you watch? Where does your thoughts normally gravitate toward to? Is there pain in your neshama from your past traumas? Are those traumas currently affecting your actions in a negative way? How is your stress level? How is your emotional health? And most importantly, are you ready to make the decision of letting Hashem take the lead in your life? It's so important to ask questions. We should never stop asking questions. If we do, then how are we going to improve? It's important to question, and it's important to analyze. It's important to improving our middle and character traits. What else can I improve? Any other area that I'm not so good at? It's always important, and that is the same thought process should be done with your children. Are you okay? How are you handling this? How are you handling that? How do you feel? What is in your mind? Everything to help them analyze, and for them to analyze how they're doing, and giving that, because if we question then how we are, then we will be going to have a healthy emotional, physical, and spiritual life. If we question in terms of self-improvement, then we're going to be looking forward to improve, for that diamond in the rough to be more polished, and therefore it's a journey. It's not going to stop. It's a journey, but it should be a joyous journey, not something that's just a burden. No, it's a process that we should enjoy, and if sometimes we need to cry it out, we can, as long as it's done with Hashem, and say, okay, that I cried it out, and I just give it to you, Hashem, and it's time for me to be filled with simcha, because I know that you forgave my mistake, and I know what I need to do. I need to go to your guidance, and that's gonna comfort me. That same calm and peace will transfer on in your actions with every aspect. Everything impacts. We are all connected. Everything is connected. So each of these factors is essential to our overall health, as was mentioned before, and stability. Each can be used properly to our overall benefit. One thing you need to remember is that while we may have developed habits that are not beneficial, we can overcome them and develop positive habits that help us live our lives with simcha. Later on, we're going to see how is it that happiness, simcha, it affects even the health of our blood. It's like mind-blowing. So I think you guys saw this a while ago. I read this post. It really like shook me and impacted me, and like made me think. And it was in Spanish, but I translated it. So it says here, the husband cannot see that the serpent is biting his wife. The wife cannot see the rock that is on top of her husband. What we need to learn from this story is that there are times husbands do not see the pain his wife at times is feeling, and why the wives at times cannot understand the pressure her husband feels on a daily basis. In marriage, we need to learn to understand each other better and improve our communication skills so that we can pinpoint issues that need to be worked on and transform weaknesses in one's character to strengths. So at times we just going through life, and in everyday basis, you're just like, especially if one comes close, you're like, oh, and you're so stressed out. And if you're not giving that to Hashem, you're not dealing with it in a positive way, in the Torah way, you're not davening and say, and you don't have that time to escape in prayer. It's a positive way of escaping. If you have that little time, even if it's just 10 minutes, even if at that moment, it's very important to daven. But if that moment you have it just cannot, that just the children are restless and you cannot sit down and daven. If you have 10 minutes, just 10, even 5, if you say, Hashem, I just give to you, and then you read. And that will bring some relief. And at a later time, you can daven when everything is calm. And that quote unquote crisis, because everything that Hashem presents and puts in your path is that you learn something, you develop something. Even if it comes in, let's say, in a not so pretty package, it's something that Hashem wants you to learn, something that he wants you to work on. And Baruch Hashem for that situation that may present itself. Otherwise, how would you work on it? So it still works in marriage. If we use compassion and we use kindness in a marriage, and we think of our spouse's well-being, why is it that, how they feel, if we try and make an effort of continuously in talking and say, hey, how are you doing? How is this and how is that? How do you feel? And what about if we dive in together? What about we just did what they do? It's spontaneous prayer together, and just show that care and show that compassion to your husband, and that he would say, "Hey, she cares." And if there's like a moment of discussions that the other person becomes heated, and you're like, if you choose what Hashem will want you to do, and you choose compassion, and you choose Hashem, then you will feel centered, and you'll be calm, because you will have given it to Hashem, and you're like, and you begin saying, I'm sorry, and you start talking calmly, and then you will see the reaction of your spouse. The way you're reacting is just something that it's like, oh wow, she's not screaming. Or this approach, I am so sorry. Can we talk when you're calm? It's like if you're in peace, and I think it will impact eventually your spouse. If you daven for him, daven for him, cling to Hashem, so that your spouse, your family life, everything, financial, everything is as it should be, even if it's going through a little bit of a crisis. If you cling to him, you make the world difference. And the same goes with people who have a practice. Sometimes people need to be reminded of the fact that you need to cling to Hashem, because this world can be overwhelming, and we don't really just want to resolve things fast and with our own thinking, instead of slowing down and taking the time to daven and ask Hashem, what should I do? And that's what CBTT is about. It's guiding a person. Yes, you use imagery and we use meditation, but it makes a world difference between a meditation that is a secular And a meditation that is with Hashem is the whole ball game, different ball game. So let's keep going. So if we work on a middle, therefore it will impact our marriage in a positive way, as we were talking about. And if one is not married, it will certainly be a positive, very positive aspect to work on, and it will impact our loved ones. And the people that you interact with on a daily basis is a very positive way. If we put God back into every aspect of our lives, then we are bound to Him. If we are bound to Him, sorry for misspelling again, then we are bound to Hashem's Torah and mitzvah. And if we attach ourselves to Hashem's Torah and mitzvah, then we are going to be protected, because there is no better protection than prayer, Torah, and mitzvah, being fulfilled with simcha. But if you give your will to Hashem, and if you let Hashem His will become your own, then your neshama will be full of simcha, and therefore you will have a healthy life. But we will always be a work in progress, as we were mentioning before, a diamond that keeps getting polished through its life. That's where neshama is always going to keep it polished. It's not going to stop. It's not going to quick fix. We're going to go through different periods of learning, and we have to improve on some areas. And it's always, sometimes we're going to go a few steps back, and that's okay. But we can get back up and try again. And so this is like the first introduction of CBTT. And Rebbetzin Yerushalmi created this. She's a therapist, even with 30 years of experience, and she knows how before putting Hashem in her practice and after putting Hashem in her practice, it was a big difference. Before, she was going through a very, very depression crisis and health issues. Even though she tried eating healthy, and in many other aspects. Once she added Hashem and Hasidus to her life and her practice, it was a world difference again. And it's not a race, it's a journey. It takes time to change our habits, change our mindset, change our actions. And relationship with Hashem, it needs to be nourished. It needs to be watered. Little by little, be closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. But you'll get there. So Hashem doesn't want perfection. He just wants you there. He loves you as you are, but he also wants you for your own benefit to improve and work on character traits that are affecting your life for your own benefit again. So if anyone has questions, let me know. And that's the first session. I'm going to keep going. We're going to be seeing every aspect. We're going to be going through everything in a deep way. So any questions? If not, we're done for the first session. And if you have any questions at all or suggestions, don't hesitate to text or call. Okay. Bye, guys. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Hold on a second. Oops, I didn't stop screen sharing. So, okay. I'm going to stop recording.